it's time to sit back and relax with your favorite drink. And listen.
Tonight's tale is a chilling first-person account of a man who accepts an experimental pill promising effortless weight loss. What begins as a simple chance of transformation soon spirals into something far darker, as his body and mind are consumed by urges he cannot control. With each passing day, the line between hunger, obsession, and madness blurs, until the true cost of vanity is revealed in the most terrifying way imaginable. Swallowing pride, like corpse child. Why didn't I listen to him? I just had to keep doing it, didn't I? Alright, I'm writing as much as I can down now while I still have any kind of strength in my hands to do so. I've been on a fitness kick for about 7 or 8 months, and to call it an addiction would be putting it lightly. I'd always struggled with self-esteem, so I decided to do something about it through fitness. Classic tale, right? Well, you know how it goes. You start telling yourself that, just go to the gym and everything will be alright, yeah? So then you do it. You get involved in fitness classes, see all the hippies, and hear their bullshit about personal fitness and inner well-being. And you even start losing large amounts of money, diving headfirst into crippling debt, into all these dietary and workout supplements. Now, imagine all of that, and then take into account that my stupid ass had also started throwing myself at just about every goddamn opportunity to volunteer for any number of tests for some new product. And obviously, yes, this resulted in numerous hospital visits, incurring more debt, and which also eventually got to the point where my ass couldn't even go to the gym anymore because of the extensive damage many of the different chemicals and treatments had done to my body. All of this, and you know what? I still looked flabby and pathetic. So I looked like shit, felt like shit, didn't have shit to show for it all. About month 5 was the point where I was about to give up on, everything. I was already without a car, having to sell it after losing my job, thanks to the hospital visits. Didn't have much of anything inside my house either, and I was just barely able to pay the rent and put a little food in my mouth every night, mostly consisting of ramen and canned tuna. Couldn't even cook the shit because I couldn't afford a microwave. To top all that off, the rent was coming due at the end of the month, and it looked like I was going to have to choose whether or not I wanted a roof or food for the next month. I was running out of shit to take to the pawn shop too, so I wasn't going to be able to have that to bail me out much longer either. The only thing I had left of any real value was my grandfather's old Smith & Wesson, which was so old that I didn't think it'd get me much. Might as well use it on myself at that point, yeah? Bad joke, I know, though. Make no mistake, the thought had come up more than once. Matter of fact, it was at one point I had the thing in my hand, fervently pondering the idea, that the doorbell rang. This caught me off guard because, naturally, penniless junkies like me didn't exactly have much in the luxury of friends, and my family were all in another state, so visitors weren't a common occurrence. I sat on my couch for a moment, not sure if maybe they just had the wrong apartment, when the doorbell started ringing repeatedly. I got up then and slugged my way over to the door. "Hello?" I said, answering the door. Greeting me was who I figured must have been the model for at least the last 5 issues of Men's Fitness, smirking at me with a pamphlet in his hand. The instant I saw that, I rolled my eyes. Oh, great. Goddamn missionary. "Hello, sir. I was just in the neighborhood and wondered if I could have a moment of your time." He kept this absolutely plastic smirk up every second he said this, too. I swear to God, if he comes at me with some Lord and Savior bullshit, I'm gonna fucking lose it with him. He held up the pamphlet. "You see, I've been doing a study on the effects of poorer society conditions on the people in it when it comes to fitness." I scoffed. Another yogi, even worse. That right?" I asked dryly. "Yes, sir. See, our theory is that those in poorer living conditions are far more predisposed to obesity and being out of shape than those in more..." He hesitated for a moment, trying to find the right word. "In a better condition?" I asked. "Yeah, you got it." I sighed, pinching the bridge of my nose, and said, "Okay, well, look, pal, as you can plainly see, I paused and showed him the inside of my house. I don't have any money for whatever the hell it is you're selling here, so... Oh, no, sir. I apologize for the misunderstanding. I'm not here to sell anybody anything. Like I said, this is a study. Okay, then. Why the hell are you here? He chuckled. Great question. May I come in? I looked at him for a moment, honestly not sure if this was some sort of prank. I even started looking around outside to see if this asshat was being followed by some kind of film crew. I mean, not that I'd really throw a fit if this all was some sort of televised prank, but damn it, I was going to make sure I got my cut from it. He chuckled again. It's just me, sir. I looked back at him. You get this reaction a lot? I asked. Oh, only from everyone else I've asked this to here in this neighborhood. Yeah, figures. So, maybe talk inside. I scoffed and stepped aside. He came in and I saw him look the place up and down. Yep, I'm seeing everything I need. I guess you don't need much, huh? I joked, but he didn't react. So, exactly what is it you were looking for? Yes, so what I want to do is ask you just a few short questions about your lifestyle, and then we can go from there, okay? Jeez, more questions. Fucking-tastic. Fire away, I replied tiredly. Right on. So, first question. How much do you make per year? This made me chuckle dryly and nod around the apartment. Take a good look around and then take into consideration that I'm in danger of losing all of this anyway. That's how much. He nodded and kept going. While looking around the room. And what do you eat on a regular basis? I looked over and pulled out an old container of top ramen and held it up to him. He raised his eyebrows and asked, That's it? Pretty much. I mean, if I'm extra lucky, I can actually have a can of two or tuna to mix with them. I see. Yeah, so, is that it? You know what kind of condition I live in, so, No, not just yet, he said, holding his finger up. What I don't know is, why? I frowned. Huh? Why is it that you have to live this way, in here, eating ramen and tuna every night? I raised my eyebrow. This guy wasn't serious, was he? He was really asking me to tell him why I was dirt-ass poor? For fuck's sake. Taking a deep breath, clenching both my teeth and my fists, I told him. Look, obviously I'm not the best with money and I don't have a job. I made some shit decisions financially, and I'm paying for them enough, in my opinion, without you throwing them back in my fucking face. So, you feel horrible about yourself, don't you? I froze. Oh, what did you say? You feel like shit, don't you? I'm sorry, who the hell are you? You feel like you're a failure too, don't you? My ears started to burn. In only milliseconds, I had every possible thought, every detail of ways to pound Mr. Men's warehouse here into a pile of blood and bones, twitching on the floor. You want to change, don't you? Oh, I suppose you have some miracle, Mr. Messiah, huh? You're gonna snap your fingers and make all my fucking money issues go away. Jesus H. Christ, you're worse than my goddamn therapist was. At least she knew when to quit while she was ahead. But I am still ahead, he replied nonchalantly, not noticing or not caring about the fact I was about to beat his ass. Oh, I'll bet. I began to walk to the kitchen. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to enjoy my pack of ramen for tonight in peace. Well, I'd offer you some, but us slummers gotta hold on to what we got. So, if you would please... I gestured to the front door. He stood in the middle of the living room, squinting his eyes at me. Well, why, you need a frickin' invitation? Go! His smug-as-hell grin just grew. Look, if I have to say it again, I'm going to the fucking cops. Okay, I'm sorry. Again, just here to ask a couple of questions and offer you some help. Yeah, well, I don't need your help. Understood, but if you change your mind... He pulled out a card and what looked like some sort of small pill bottle, a small yellow kind you'd see in the drugstore. The opportunity will be there. He set the bottle and the card down on the floor and walked out the door without another word or glance in my direction. I stood for a minute, watching him walk down the street. Good riddance, jackass. When I was sure he was gone, I looked again at the pill bottle. Inside was what looked like a roll of bills and a few small pills. On the card, small red text read, "In the event you want to change your mind and your life, take one of these pride pills. I've gifted you $1,000 in the hopes that you'll try the formula contained in the bottle. If you wish to pocket the money, that's fine. It's yours to play with, though should you decide that you would like a substantially larger compensation, then take the pills. There's a 7-day supply. Take no more than one per day, and make sure you eat something right after, not before, each use. At the end of the 7-day period, contact the number on the back of the card and directions will be given on how to proceed further with the trial. Sincerely, L. Rawkinson, CEO of Vanity Wings, LLC. I couldn't help but chuckle at this when I first read it. I run this asshole out of my house after getting passively chastised about my living conditions, and I get to come out with $1,000 because of it? Fucking dumbass, I thought. And then the longer I stared at the pill bottle, the more curious I got about the so-called pride pills. Which sounds so weird, by the way. I mean, seriously, who came up with that marketing campaign? And so I thought about taking one. Then, of course, common sense kicked back in and told me to quit being an idiot and just take the money and flush the pills or something. Still, though, couldn't really tell why at the time, but I couldn't shake the thought from my mind that there was something about these pills, something that told me that maybe, just maybe, I shouldn't be so quick to get rid of them. I wondered if maybe they could somehow help me. I mean, like I said earlier, I have done this sort of thing before. What difference was this, right? Sure, I can hear you telling me now, but didn't you say that was also the same thing that screwed you in the first place? Answer, yes. Yes, it was. To answer your next question, yes, I realize I'm an idiot for basically willingly screwing myself over again. But, well, keep two things in mind here. A, none of this, me telling you what happened to me, is for sympathy. Just looking to tell you what happened and to spread a warning to anyone else who might be an unfortunately curious victim like me. And B, I didn't immediately rush headfirst into taking the pills. This time I started by asking around my neighborhood. That fucker did say he'd been giving them the same pitch he had to me, so I figured maybe one of them might have some sort of answer or result to show regarding the pills. I thought if they did it, and they turned out fine, then it might not be such a horrible idea to participate in another test run trial, if for nothing else than to maybe score another payout. I started by going to my next door neighbor's house and knocking on his door. Almost unsurprisingly, he didn't answer. People weren't too keen on answering the doors around here unexpectedly, if you know what I mean. After knocking for a good 5 to 10 minutes, the motherfucker opened the door, looking about as annoyed and tired as he always did whenever I'd see him step out of his apartment for the singular occasion of grabbing the morning paper and checking his mailbox. "What the hell do you want?" he grumbled, almost inaudibly. "Hey, just, I don't know. I thought I'd try and, see how everything was going." He raised an eyebrow at me. I was honestly surprised he didn't either slam the door in my face or bust his gut laughing. I cleared my throat and started again. "Okay, look, bullshit aside. Did you get a visit from that guy in the suit?" "That pretty boy wanted to stick his nose in my business. Yeah, he came by. Almost had my foot in his ass, too." I chuckled at this. Yeah, makes two of us, pal. "Okay, so, he left you a bottle too, right?" "Yeah? Why?" "Well, 'cause I was just done running him off myself, and I got one too." You know what's in it, right? Yeah, some pills and the next 3 months' rent. Oh, you're going to start poking around in my business, too? Well, I held up my hands. Yeah, I'm just asking, okay? I just wanted to know if you'd taken the pills and if you had any funny shit happen because of them. Nah, I ain't taking them. Don't plan to, neither. Stupid ass gave me $1,000 and I'ma use it to keep the roof over my head for the next 3 months. He then thrust the bottle of pills into my chest. Yeah, matter of fact, you can have my supply. Shit, maybe it'll do you some good. Maybe make you look less like a wad of bubblegum. He then turned and slammed the door in my face. I just stood there for a second, eyeing the bottle he'd given me. Ah, dick. All I wanted to ask was one fucking question. I turned around, considering whether or not it'd be worth it to try and actually ask anyone else. Then I thought about how likely it was I'd get the exact same goddamn answer. Likely, along with a black eye or something for my troubles as well. So no. Instead, I went right back to my house and was right back to thinking about what the hell I was going to do with all these pills. I wanted to throw them out, of course. Like my neighbor said, it was at least 3 or 4 months' worth of rent just for listening to a suit try and jack me off for 20 minutes. Then there's the chance for more. That's where I started free-falling into the rabbit hole. Yeah, the money I had was great and all, but what had happened when the money was gone? I'd be right back to where I was now, on the verge of being without a freaking roof over my head. And even then, I won't have even the goddamn money throughout to eat properly anyway. I'd have the apartment for another 3 months, but I'd be stuck eating ramen every fucking night for those 3 months. I didn't want that. I wanted more. If there was a chance here that I could live comfortably, I wanted it. And you best believe I'd do what it took. Well, that night, as per the instructions, I took 1 pill and immediately made a pack of ramen and tuna. Well, I'll say this much, I'm glad the card emphasized to take only 1 and right before you ate something. That thing, as soon as it slithered down and hit the pit of my stomach, I had the munchies like you wouldn't believe. It's like I'd burned a hole in my stomach, leaving it this giant gaping crater. It tasted delicious too. It was sweet, but with just enough of a savory sort of tang, so it wasn't alarmingly sweet. I devoured that pack of ramen and almost immediately went for another pack. I only had about another week's supply on my counter, and in the next 10 minutes I ended up burning through at least another 5 or 6 packets. I can't really tell how many packs of ramen I went through in total, but when I woke up, some 5 or 6 hours later, I saw that at least 3/4 of my stash was gone. Great job, fat ass. Now you're going to have to buy more of that with all that money that you don't have. Then I stopped again, and I realized 2 things. The first was the whole, oh yeah, $1,000. I must have forgotten about that, didn't I? As well as the added security of knowing that at the end of the week, I'd have significantly more after the trial was done. The second thing I noticed was when I looked at my reflection in the mirror at the end of the hall, I noticed just how much thinner I looked in the mirror. Now, something to clear up, I wasn't exactly fat, not like you might be thinking anyway, but I was kind of flabby in quite a few areas. Let me put it to you this way. Girls would have looked at me and rated me a 4.5 or 5 at best. That's why I'd done all the shit that got me into this mess I was in the first place. Now, though, I noticed how much my waistline had slimmed up. I wasn't as wide as I was before in the waist, and ironically enough, it was then that I noticed also how my pants were starting to feel a good bit looser than they had been. Now, keep in mind, I hadn't been exercising, or even leaving my freaking house for that matter, and I just pigged out like crazy on ramen noodles. In other words, not at all a weight loss sort of circumstance, if you know what I mean. Yet here I was, looking already 10, maybe 15 pounds lighter. Well, as a matter of fact, I even stepped on my old-ass bathroom scale, which somehow still worked, don't ask me how. And I saw that, yes, I actually was 10 pounds lighter than I had been before. I was flabbergasted, to say the least. Couldn't believe it, despite not being able to disprove it. I wasn't a man of any kind of faith, but this was what I could only describe as a miracle. After all the money I'd lost, all the impoverishment, All the frickin' time spent breaking myself with chemicals and supplements and shit. It was finally all over. I'd found the miracle pill. I remember actually going out of my house, feeling something like a sense of actual confidence in myself. I could actually be proud of myself for once. Imagine that. A loser like me that could actually feel good about themselves after just one pill. I went outside and actually decided to take a giant whiff of the air like a goddamn hippie. I mean, it was absolutely euphoric. It wasn't just my euphoria that was sent through the roof either. I got hit with a libido I hadn't had in years, if even that, to be perfectly honest. The money I now had to boot meant I could actually go out and, actually live a little. So I did. I went to the bar, though it was a little awkward going with no friends. I went to the movies. Hell, I even went to a fancy as hell 5-star restaurant. That's where I first started noticing something. It had been prevalent before at all the other places. It wasn't as apparent as it was at the restaurant. It was an all-you-can-eat buffet, and it had everything, ranging from your standard salad bar at the front to the dessert bar at the very end. Just about every kind of fancy cut of meat and other shit in between them. Like I said, I'd been eating all day at all the other places I've mentioned before, and eating well, I might add. When I got into the restaurant, it was like a hole had just been burned through my stomach. With the way it roared at me, I might as damn well not have eaten anything all day. So I got through the door, and it was everything I could do not to run back wild, tearing the place apart. Have you ever seen an alcoholic when he's at a party and he's trying to stay sober? The way he shakes like he's going to spontaneously explode. Well, that's what it was like for me, only with a lot more saliva in my mouth. Finally managed to make it through the line to the counter to pay for a table and food. But the instant my ass was let go from there, it was on. I bum-rushed the end of the line to the salad bar, where I proceeded to devour the entire spread. I didn't wait in line, use the tongs, hell, I didn't even grab a damn bowl. I was on a feeding frenzy, and there was no stopping now. The lettuce, the croutons, the other various condiments, all of them, I was shoveling it all in hand over fist. Oh, and it didn't stop there, oh no. It escalated at the entree sections, where I started snatching chunks out of every hunk of perfectly cooked, dripping, juicy hunks of meat in front of me. Mentally, I was nothing but a wild frickin' animal. From the way my mouth and chin dripped with blood from the deliciously tender prime ribs and ribeyes, I probably looked like one too. I couldn't stop. I didn't want to. I couldn't remember the last time, if really ever, that I'd ever tasted or eaten food this good before, and I couldn't get enough. Seriously, I actually couldn't get enough to eat. No matter how much I shoveled in, no matter how big the bites were or what they were, to me it was like I was eating only slices of bread. Eating all of that food felt no different to me than eating my meager portions of ramen every night. All the baby backs, the quarter-pounder steaks, the New York strips, the chicken and the fish were gone in seconds the instant I got to them. I still had to have more. Obviously, none of this was going unnoticed. The others in line in front of me and behind me were starting to give me dirty looks. Not that I could have cared. It was only a matter of time, though, before I saw 2 of the restaurant staff approaching me, and, without even thinking, I lunged at one of them, tackling them to the ground before raising up. God, what had possessed me to do this? I couldn't begin to know, but the thought crossed my mind then to try taking chunks out of him. Right before I could, I was hoisted off by the other before being thrown out of the door like it was yesterday's garbage. Landed on my face, which instantly broke my nose and caused my vision to explode into a giant cloud. It was at least 10 minutes, though, before any of that registered with me. When it did, it was almost another 20 minutes before I was in any condition to try and pick myself up off the ground. From there, walking was an absolute nightmare, thanks to the excruciating pain shooting all throughout my body. What was worse, I was still hungry. About an hour or 2 later, when I made it home, you know what the first thing I did was? That's right, pig the fuck out on the rest of the ramen I'd stashed in the house, all 6 packs I'd had left. Didn't even cook them either. Instead, I just chowed down on them like they were giant crackers. Once I was through those, I tore through my cabinets to devour the 10, maybe 15 cans of tuna that I had managed to ration that long up to that point. All of that plus the frenzy from the restaurant, plus all the shit I'd eaten earlier throughout the day. And it still wasn't enough. I wanted more. I needed more. And something to keep in mind, I know I keep saying this, but I couldn't feel any of it. When I looked in my mirror again, there wasn't so much as a fucking bulge in my stomach. Believe it or not, it was actually smaller. My stomach was shrinking. Using the remote part of my brain that was actually still reasonable, I decided to turn in for the night. And though I was still ravenous as a rabid dog, I did my best to shove it all down. It was a long night, I'll tell you that much, but eventually I managed to make it work and I fell asleep. I woke up the next morning. I felt normal again. My stomach felt normal again. Well, sort of. What I mean is that I felt full, satisfied and well fed. Something you know by now wasn't ever the case for me. And the downside of this was that I had a real bitch of a headache. So the first thing I ended up doing was going to the drugstore across the street for some aspirin. I got back home and popped the pill, and lo and behold, that was a horrible idea. Not 10 seconds after I popped the fucker, my vision started warping like crazy. Imagine for a moment that you're on a roller coaster and you can't make anything stop spinning. Now imagine that happening for 10 minutes straight while you're throwing up. Pleasant, ain't it? Anyway, after hurling until my stomach felt like an empty mason jar again, you guessed it, I was fucking starving once more. Really bad too. In fact, I wasn't just starving, I was ravenous. I wanted to eat any and everything in sight. You might think that's an exaggeration, but oh no, I spent at least 5 minutes trying to eat my damn couch, right after somehow managing to take a bite out of little cork coasters I had, before realizing that these things weren't meant to be eaten. Even still, I had to eat something. Thing was, I didn't want just anything. I didn't want just any food. See, I'd already tried regular food at the restaurant and none of it worked. I was still so hungry. I looked in the mirror again and you know what? My stomach was now concave. I was malnourished, despite eating literally anything and everything. I was going to die if I didn't find something big, something satisfying and quick. I threw on my coat then and began walking down the road, looking all around for a decent place to eat. I still had a good chunk of the money left, and I'd already paid up that month's rent, so I figured I should be able to afford still whatever it was that caught my eye. Money wasn't the problem here for once. This time the problem was that there wasn't anything that was catching my eye. I mean, sure, there were restaurants left and right, but none seemed to make me think that they'd be able to satisfy my cravings. Oh, I wanted meat. Tough, yet tender, juicy and thick. I wanted meat that still had fur on it. I wanted it bloody. In fact, as I was walking, imagining myself taking a huge bite into a steak that was so rare it was debatable as to whether or not the frickin' thing had been cooked at all. In fact, I wanted it to be that way. Raw. Bleeding. Hell, who said it even had to be dead first? I wanted it alive. I wanted it to struggle as I tore into it. My heart thundered in my chest with each step I took down the street, imagining myself tearing into a live animal, not even caring about which animal, seeing the life leave its eyes while I stuffed my face like I was a 5-year-old at a birthday party. The wind blew and the street was full of people, all walking along the sidewalk, some of them with pets. Tiny, sweet little dogs, all huffing and yapping excitedly. I looked at them pass me by and my mouth began to water. Most of them were small, shrimpy little things that wouldn't have amounted to much more than a quick mouthful. But then a few were nice and big, both in height and girth. Nice, juicy morsels. Nice and raw and bloody. My body shook violently. I was so hungry. God, I needed something. I needed meat. Raw, juicy meat that I could tear apart with my bare hands and teeth. Just one. Excuse me? I snapped back to reality to find myself nose to nose with a big-ass golden retriever. His tongue was lapped out, happily huffing in my face. I looked back up to find the owner looking alarmed at me. And exactly what on earth do you think you're doing? I was lost. What was I doing again? My stomach growled a reminder at me, and I looked back at the dog. Oh, I was just stopping to check your pal here, I replied with an awkward as hell chuckle. Big one, ain't he? Yeah, he replied uneasily. Well, me and Sonny here need to get home soon, so if you wouldn't mind. He gestured with his hand for me to move away from the dog. I didn't move. I was starving, and this beautiful pound of flesh was right there. Oh, no, I couldn't let this go. I needed the meat. I had to have Sonny. Oh, sure, but would you mind if I say hello and pet him first? I could tell from the look on the guy's face that he really just wanted me to go away, but I was persistent. Fine, but make it quick, he said, sighing and rolling his eyes. My arm slowly reached out to Sonny's nose, quivering violently. Sonny kept huffing at me, happy as could be, blissfully unaware of what was about to happen to him the second I laid hands on him. Hey there, Sonny boy, I said in a goading, childlike voice. My hand was almost at his nose, my mouth flooded with saliva. It was there, perfect, raw, tender meat. It was all mine now. My hand stroked his nose, and electricity jolted throughout my entire body. The moist texture of his nose sent shivers down my back. Shivers of anxiety, of excitement. I imagined how squishy and chewy it would taste in my mouth. Then my heart was sent speeding when Sonny took it upon himself to start playfully licking my hand. That was it for me. I couldn't take it anymore. Before I, the dog, or the owner could so much as blink, I snatched him by the scruff of his neck and took off, sprinting down the road. Behind me, I could hear the guy shout, "Hey, stop that guy! He's got my dog!" But I ignored this. I ignored the shouts of the other people coming after me, and I ignored Sonny's yaps at me as I sprinted further and further. Where I was even going, I don't know. I wasn't planning on going home, I'll tell you that. No, I was just running, trying to find a nice, quiet, secluded spot to stop and enjoy the pilfered meal. I don't know how long it was that I was running blindly down the street with the dog in my hands, but I'll say that by the time I finally stopped in a darkened, isolated alley on the edge of town, the sun had already mostly gone down. I looked behind me to find that everyone else seemed to have given up the chase some time back as well. I sat down then and looked at Sonny. Whether from his own excitement or because he'd yapped himself out, he was fast asleep. Good. That means there won't even be a struggle. I laid him down and unhinged my jaws, just about to pounce, when I stopped. What the hell was going on? I asked myself. What the hell was I doing here? Why was I so sweaty, dirty, and out here in the dark, sitting with a random dog in the alleyway? What the fuck was wrong with me? My stomach roared at me again. My entire lower stomach felt like jagged shards of glass and red-hot needles were being driven repeatedly into it. I doubled over. I couldn't even stand up anymore. I looked up at the dog. This gigantic, juicy, tender dog. Oh, it was right there. I was so hungry, and the solution was right there, fast asleep. He wouldn't even feel anything. No. I looked away from Sonny again. God, I couldn't do it. Sonny was a sweet little dog. Why does he have to die just because of my voracious appetite? It wasn't his fault. God, I was so hungry. In the end, all I'm going to say to both the dog and the owner, if you're reading this, I'm so sorry. I'm a monster, and I hope that he's in some form of paradise now, wherever that is for dogs. When I finally finished, my stomach roared again. Even after what I'd just done, even after Sonny, I still couldn't satisfy my hunger. I was still so goddamn hungry. I wanted more. I wanted bigger, even bigger than Sonny. I wanted more fresh meat, fresh blood. Oh, I couldn't help it. I was completely out of control now. Pain erupted again from my stomach, and I clutched it, doubling over and writhing on the ground next to what was left of poor Sonny. I howled and cried both from pain and from grief. I wasn't even a person now. I was a fucking animal. A wild fucking animal that deserved nothing more than to get put down like one. The worst part, no matter how badly I wanted to stop, I couldn't. I couldn't make any of it end. I couldn't stop being so goddamn hungry. I thought for a moment that if I could hold out long enough, I might be able to black out or even keel over altogether at this point. But no. Eventually the pain became too much, and so I resorted to the only other supply of meat I knew I still had on me. My own bare flesh. I started biting my hands, sinking my teeth as far as they go before ripping them out of my mouth, tearing away more and more of it with each mouthful. The pain was excruciating, believe me, but the pain of hunger was far worse. I didn't stop there either. I went down the lengths of my arms, then started tearing bits from my legs. By the time a roving police car, likely called by the owner of Sonny or anyone else from the crowd chasing me, found me, I had to have looked like something out of Night of the Living Dead, with all the tattered flesh and severed tendons hanging out of me, and it wasn't stopping. The immediate aftermath of that is a blur. I've been told that they had to tase me several times before they could restrain me. I don't remember any of it, though, obviously. No, I just remember waking up in a hospital bed with bandages covering 3/4 of me and tubes going into several places across my body. Like before, I woke up with an awful headache and I couldn't move a single muscle. The sharp pain from before also returned, only now the adrenaline wasn't there to mute it out. I spent the last 3, 4, maybe 5 days here in the hospital. It was only last night that I managed to start sort of moving my fingers again, at least enough to type this all out. Well, I don't feel hungry anymore, for anything, so I guess that's one sort of silver lining from all of this. On the other hand, I'm being told by the doctors that, thanks to the self-inflicted lacerations of my skin and muscle tissues, it's likely I'll end up having to have them amputated. When they did a tox screening on me, they found, of course, the chemicals of the pride pills, which comprised a laundry list of chemicals that, honestly, I don't care to remember, nor were they ones I'd even heard of before. When they asked me about it, I told them about L. Rawkinson and Vanity Wings, LLC, both of which earned me a confused look from both the doctors and the detectives who questioned me about the situation, both with Sonny and the restaurant before. I told them that I wasn't the only one he'd visited either. He'd made the same offer and given the same stuff to everyone else in my neighborhood as well. When they searched for the company online, however, you guessed it, zilcho. I told them that the card he gave me was in my apartment as well, and that the same card was with the pill supply he'd given to the others. I was told they'd be looking into that before they left. That was 2 days ago, and I've not heard anything from it since. Well, I'm ending this here. It's hurting now too much to type. And I think it's the last time I'll be able to use them because I'm going to be undergoing some sort of operation here in an hour. I'm going to post this. I'm going to beg you all, please, for the love of fucking God, don't ever try any kind of experimental drug, no matter how much money is thrown at you for it. It's not worth it. Well, quite a few of you have said it over the course of, well, a few years now. Whenever you get a corpse child story, you know you're in for a treat. And another short one, but I think you can still agree that was a fantastic tale. Hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, well, yeah, I've been doing a lot of new stuff recently, but a couple of old ones, and it doesn't matter what I do, seemingly. A lot of people say, oh, you've done that one before. Well, this one was brand new to the channel, but I'm sure a lot of you will not accept that it was. So I think a lot of it is that I do, follow themes, and some of the stories can be quite similar. I'm a forest ranger in a something, or I visited the Antarctic. So it can seem like I'm doing something that I've done before a lot of times, and when it isn't, and it's brand new, and the story's only been sent to me 2 or 3 days before. It's like, what on earth? Come on, this is brand new stuff. Anyway, just a minor thing for this Sunday evening. Thanks again, as always, for listening. I'll be back again, hopefully tomorrow night. Till then, my dear friends, It was just a story and you all sleep well, yeah?
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this story today. It really means a lot to me and to the author of the story, of course. Well, if you want to know more about me, I'm pretty much everywhere on social media. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can download my music on SoundCloud. I've got a Patreon if you feel like. Throw me $1 or $2. Very much appreciated. And of course, on Reddit, I have a place where you can leave stories if you want me to read one that you've written. Well, hoping to see you all again very soon. Till then, sweet dreams. Bye-bye.